Today's video is going to show you how to find your fastest car and to save it in such a way that everybody will know that is your fastest car. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you a couple things on here that you're going to need to know for quick reference and things like that. And then we're going to walk through the process that you're going to need to find your fastest car and then to save it as such. So as I go through here, I'm just going to point this out. The assignment prior to this was to have 5 cars in spec. To do a quick review of what cars you have in spec, go to the File menu up here, and you click and go to Open. When you go to Open, it opens all your dragsters that you have made, okay? And I have a couple dragsters here, and I've done these here. I'm going to ignore these two because this was my first steps in showing this process. I'm going to ignore these two, but look at my other dragsters. So I'm going to start with dragster number 1. If I click on here, you're going to notice and you're going to see that I have 4 dragsters, revision 1, revision 2, revision 3, and revision 4. And they all have a green in spec bar. Okay, if you see a green in spec bar, that means that car is a legal car to use in class. Okay, now in this particular case, I see 4 green in spec cars, which means that I have 4 legal cars. Even though they're under the same name, they're different revisions of that car. Okay, so I have now right here, I have 4 of my 5 cars. Okay. Now, they do not all have to be the same dragster name. They can be. They do not have to be, however. So I'm going to go back, and that was dragster 1. I'm going to go to New. Now, New shows me I have a working copy. Notice it says, it doesn't say in spec. That means this car is not a legal car to be used for competition. It hasn't been saved to enter a competition. It has been raced for a competition. So this car is not a good car for that purpose. So we can't use this car. So at this point, I've gone through these 2 cars, or these 2 dragsters, and I still have 4 in spec dragsters. Now I'm going to skip these 2 because those are not what I want to work with. I'm going to click on this one. This one also says it is a working copy. Again, and not a car that is in spec, not a car or a dragster that is legal. So I got to work out of that one. I'm going to go to Fast 1 down here. Fast 1, I see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 revisions. Revision number 5 is a working copy. So this one is not a legal dragster. But notice I have 4, 3, 2, and 1 here are all marked as in spec. So those are 4 more legal dragsters. 4 more legal dragsters added to the previous 4 I have. So now I currently have 8 legal dragsters. Okay, and so now I have 3 more than I need. But I'm just going to check here on Speedy 2. I click on Speedy 2. I have 3 revisions, 3 in spec. So now I can add that, and now I have 11 legal dragsters. Okay, so if you see something other than a green in spec, which a working copy is not a legal one that says staged is not legal, it has not been raced yet, so it has not become a legal car, and one that is red and says out of spec is also not a legal car. You can only work with ones that are green and in spec. Okay, and I just want to show you, just because you're going to see them come up, I'm just going to say, okay, here's Speedy 2 R1. Okay, that's an in spec, so that brings us to 12 total cars. And Speedy 2, and that brings us another one, so that brings us to 13 total cars. And the reason I'm showing you that is because on the next thing that we're going to do, it's going to show up all these cars. Okay, so as I go here, what I want to do is I'm going to open up. No, I don't want to open up. I want to go to the next thing. I want to go to Journal. Okay, and when I go to Journal, I'm going to click on Journal. I'm going to go over here to where it says Engineering Logs. I'm going to click on that icon. And now you see all these cars come up. Now, again, you look at this, and there's more dots here than there were cars. Remember, we had 12 plus some non-working copies, so maybe 15. There's more than 15 dragsters here, or more than 15 dots. And the other thing you're going to notice is the green dots are the in-spec dragsters. The blue dots are the working copy dragsters. And now you're going to see a couple red dots here. Those are the out of spec dragsters. Now you didn't see any in my list before, and I'll tell you why here in a second. But these are all the dragsters that I have on my login. Okay. And now the reason why you see so many versus what I showed you before is the specification. You guys have one set of specifications. It's the 2019-2020 R2. Okay. I had a different set of specs out here at one point, and I was playing with between these two which specs. So I was designing cars in both. Okay. You're only going to have this one. So when I click on this one here, you're going to see just those cars I showed you before. And now all of a sudden, there's my cars that I was showing you. Okay. There's my cars that I was showing you, or my dragsters I was showing you before. Okay. So now you may have 5, 10, 20, 30. I don't know how many you have here, but sometimes it might be easier to just go through and just say, okay, which dragster is the best. Otherwise, you can look by the design concept and pick dragster 1. See, these are all the ones that I had when I opened the file. Okay, so I could go by just look at my dragster 1s. Okay, or I could look at my speedy 2s, and I can just look at them. I'm going to do any of them because I don't have a ton up here, and I want to show you kind of what we're looking at here. Okay, so with that, now as I go through, you're going to see a number right up here in this corner. That is your time. Your best car is going to be the car with the lowest time, with the fastest time. Okay, so as I go through here and I I just hover over this one, notice a time comes up over here. Okay, so I hover over that and it's 1.8714. Okay, so at this point I'm going to say, okay, this is now my fastest time because obviously my first car. And you can see all the data that pops up for that car right down here too. It's mass and all that type of stuff, and there's the time again. If I move to the second one, I just hover over there. Notice my time in that corner goes up to 1.8764, which I know is slower than this car. So I know so far this is still my fastest car. Okay, 1.8764, first car is still my fastest car. 1.93, still my fastest car is the first one. There's a 0.95, there's a 0.95, 0.91, I haven't found one faster yet, 0.92, 0.90, 0.90. Now, if I come over to this blue one, it says 0 over there. That's a working copy car, which means that car itself doesn't have a time. Okay, that car doesn't have a time. Now, these last three, because these were going to be my concept cars for showing you this data, these are the ones that I'm not going to count right now. So right now, my fastest car is 1.8714. So I'm going to click on that. It highlights that right here. It says it is Speedy 2, Revision 1 is my fastest car. And it comes up over here, comes up with all the data up here. That's my fastest car. So now you're going to have to take a mental note of it or write it down so you know which car is going to be your fastest one, because we got to do some other stuff with it. Okay. So now what we're going to do, remembering Speedy 2, Revision 1. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to engineering. When I go back to engineering, you're going to get this error message. That's something that White Box Learning has in there. It's just the error message is not going to hurt. So go back to that, go back to engineering. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File, Open, Speedy 2, Revision 1. That was my fastest car. I'm going to open that. Okay, once I open that, I can show you it. I can turn on my view. There it is, and then if I want, there's the wheels and the axles and stuff like that. So, but there's the fastest car that I have right there. So now what I want to do is I need to make sure everybody else is going to know that. So that we got to do a couple steps to get that done. Okay, the first step is now we got to go to File. Even though, notice, what have we done to this car? Nothing. We just opened it. I turned it on, added or put the wheels on, but that is automatically there no matter what. Okay, so we have done no changes to the car whatsoever. We go to File. We go to Save. We go to Save and enter a competition. Okay. Once we save and enter a competition, what this is going to do, and I'll show you what it does here in a little bit, is, well, let's see if it did it right here. Okay, so now what it did is we opened revision 1. Notice now we had 3 revisions. Now we have 4. Okay, so now what happens, it moves revision 1 unaltered to the top. Okay, it moves revision 1 unaltered to the top. We did not make any changes. We just changed it as Speedy 2, now revision 4. So it's its new name. Okay, notice it is staged. Okay, this is not legal yet because we got to do one thing. We have to race it. So now I have to go to competition, find my Speedy 2, and I'm just going to race it against myself. It doesn't matter. And then we'll race it. And we'll let it do its race thing here. I'll let you enjoy the race. Okay, so then the results will come up, and everything should be just like it was when you had Speedy 2 Revision 1. Still the same time. Everything is there. So we have that taken care of. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to go and back to File, and I'm going to go to New. Once you go to New, you want a new from an existing concept. What that means is we're going to create a brand new car name from this car. Okay, we're going to create a brand new car name from this car. If you go from base design, it goes from the big block that you started with the very first time you started. Okay, so we're going to go new from existing concept. And we're going to go find the existing concept we want. Okay, and notice this is what we got to find here. Clicking on the start button will create a new concept based on the latest revision of Speedy 2. That is why we had to re-race the car. We had to go and save it, enter a competition, and re-race it, because it's going to take the latest revision. It wouldn't have taken revision 1 if we would have left it. It would have taken revision 3. Revision 3 was not our fastest car. Okay, so now it says enter a new concept name. Well, what I want you to do is I want you to start your best car with Q5. Okay, final space, and then the car name that you had named it. In my case, it's going to be Speedy 2. I already have a Speedy 2 out there, so I'm just going to call it Speedy, but name it the car name that you used originally. Hit enter. And then start a new concept. And now I can open up, and I go open, and I have Q5 Final Speedy. And now it says it's a working copy. So I'm going to have to open it. Okay. And then I'm going to have to file, save it, save and enter competition. It's a lot of back and forth here, but then go to competition, reset the simulation, find my final Speedy, race my final speedy. Okay. And again, you get to watch another race here. I guarantee you, Speedy will win. All the results, Q5, final Speedy. Okay. And now I go back to File. One other thing, we're going to look at it. There's Q5 final Speedy. Notice it says staged yet. But wait a minute, we just raced it. Why does it say staged? It's because we have to do one last thing to make sure that I can see it also. Is we're going to do this. We're going to log out. Then you're going to log back in. I'll let the engineering tab open up. And once that opens up, we're going to go back to File. Takes longer sometimes and some days than others. There we go. So I go File, Open. There's my Q5 Final Speedy, Inspec. Now I know that that is my final car. Everybody else will know that's my final car. So when they go to competition and you go to qualifiers, you can go down and you can alphabetize by name. So we have Z, but you can alphabetize by name, and you're just looking for, whoops, I went too far. You're looking just for the Q's in here. So here we have Q5 Final Speedy. Okay, and there's are my other attempts at it, and I got a couple others already in here. Okay, so there is my final. So now when we go and do the next step, we all know what cars we are going to use to race against. All the ones that say Q5 final in front of them. Okay, and if you want, you can look by the person here too. It's the same thing. The title up here, you can just alphabetize by person and just look by person also. So that's how to find out if you have enough cars, find out which is your fastest car, and how to save it so that everybody knows that is your fastest car. We will do other steps with some other videos in the future.